Okay, today we're going to be dividing exponents, bases with exponents. So I have a base x divided by x to the 8th power divided by a base x to the 3rd power. Now here's how division works logistically. You're not going to do this on every problem. This is the only problem we do it. So x to the 8th, I write 8 factors of x. And then x to the 3rd means I write 3 factors of x. Okay, so the factors of x, anytime you got a top and bottom factor, they cancel. And then I can't cancel anymore, but I still have 5 factors of x left over. Now, the quick way to do it, obviously, as long as they're the same base, base x, you cross out the x with the smaller power and then subtract that from the other side. So it'd be x to the 10th. Okay, x to the 5th divided by x to the 2nd, x on bottom, x on top. You cancel the x that has the smaller exponent, subtract it from the top. 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay, m to the 8th divided by m to the 2nd. Minus 2, 8 minus 2 is 6, so m to the 6th. Okay, now, next page, it's got one cookie cutter, and I'm going to do it real quick. Minus 2, 16 minus 2 is 14. Pause this video right now and go do the first problem, number 1. X to the 10th divided by x to the 8th. Should take you 3 seconds. Okay, now, moving along. Now, anytime in an expression with exponents, if you see a division line and you have a times sign, which you're going to, okay, you extend the division line so it goes through the whole problem, okay? Just extend it. Because now what we have is a top half and a bottom half. Yesterday we just had the top half. Today, now there's going to be a bottom half we have to account for. So, look on top. I don't give a crap what's on the bottom right now when I'm filling out my top. So, put your operators in. Times, we'll put the 1 later. That's a power, times, that's a power, times 7. Okay? So, if I ignore those exponents, I have a 5 times an x times a y times a 7. Now, figure out what powers go on each one of these. So go find your 5. You got a 1. Is that in a parentheses? It is. So we distribute 1 to 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Then I go to x. Is x in a parentheses? Yep, so I have to times its 3rd power to the 2nd, so 3 times 2 is 6. Then y. 4 times 2 is 8. Then 7 is to the 1st, but it ain't in a parentheses, so I'm allowed to just put 1. I drop 1 down. I don't distribute, okay? That's the top. Now the bottom. We have an x to the 4th. So the only base you have is x, okay? Its power is a 4, and it's not in a parentheses, so I guess I'm just writing 4. Now, here's something you cannot ignore. When you have bases on bottom, like you do with this x, you see if you have an x on top, you do. Here and here, here and here. So you cancel out your x with the smaller power. It's a 4. Then you minus 4 from the other side. 6 minus 4 is 2. Now you simplify just like yesterday. 5 to the 2nd, I can simplify. X I cannot. Y I cannot. 7 I can. So we simplify these two and put them together. So 5 to the 2nd power, 5 times 5, that's 25. 7 to the 1st is just 7, okay? Then put your variables, times x to the 2nd times y to the 8th. It doesn't matter which letter comes first as long as they're both at the end. Now we can times these two, 25 times 7. Once I run into the letters, I can't times, but I've got 2. So, 175. Now I would simplify the bottom, but the bottom's gone, okay? So there's your answer. Next problem. Remember that line, just extend it. It's pretty much through the whole problem, but just extend it, okay? So just look at the top. I don't give a crap about the bottom. Just pretend you're doing what you did yesterday. Times, circle the third power, times, circle the second power. That's 2 to be circled, okay? So we have 8xy. If I take those circles number out, it just says 8 times x times y. So let's talk about 8, okay? 8's to the first. Is it inside of a parentheses? It is. So I got to take 1 times 2, and that's 2. So I put 8 to the 2. Then x. It's to the third. It's in a parentheses. 3 times 2 is 6. Then y. Y is to the 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Top's good. Now bottom. Okay. 5 times x times y, okay? Now the parentheses extends to the bottom, you know, because it's around the bottom. Put that little 2 out there and circle it, okay? Because it's still to the second. So we have a 5 times an x times a y. So 5 needs an exponent. I put a 1, but it's in parentheses. So we take 1 times 2. That's 2. Then x, 1 times 2 is 2. Then y1, 1 times 2 is 2. Now, can you cancel anything? You can't. You have a base 5 on top, but on bottom, but not on top. Base x on bottom, you got 1 on top? Yes. So we take the smaller one out completely and subtract from the larger. So x to the 4th. 6 minus 2 is 4. You have a y on top, don't you? So you take out the y of the smaller power completely and subtract what that power was from your other one. 4 minus 2 is 2. Now go through the top. You can simplify that, but not that and not that. So 8 to the second, 8 times 8. That's 64. The letters we cannot simplify. X to the 4th, y to the second. Now, and I can't multiply anything because I run into my letter. Now on bottom, we got 5 to the second. Should be simplified, okay? 5 times 5 is 25. Now somebody's going to ask, do you do anything with 64, 25? You're going to try to divide them if you can, but if you get a decimal, you leave it as a fraction, okay? So there's your final answer. Okay, next problem, okay? The times, you extend the line across the whole problem. You do that with a multiplying fractions, okay? Especially with these exponents. So the top, 6 times x, and the 4 is a power, times y, okay? It's a power, and then we have a power right there. So we have 6 times x times y. So 6 is to the first power. Is it inside of a parentheses? Yes. So 1 times 4 is 4. X is to the 1 power. Is it in a parentheses? Yes. 1 times 4 is 4. Now I go find my y. It's to the third power. Is it in parentheses? Yes. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? Now that's the top, but now I have a bottom half. So I put in my operators. 7 times y times 2. Okay? Okay, so 7. Well, 7's to the 1 power. Now, I believe that's still inside the parentheses, so you take 1 times 4. 1 times 4, that's 4. Now, we're on the y. Put a 1 power. Is that in the parentheses? Still is. 1 times 4 is 4. Then 2 to the 1 power. Is that in the parentheses? Yes, so 1 times 3. Okay, 1 times 3 is 3. Now, top. You can simplify 6 to the 4th, but not the variables. Oh, shoot. See how easy it is to forget? Now you need to cancel. You have a 7 on bottom. Do you have a 7 on top? No. You have a y on bottom, y on top. We get rid of the y of the smaller power. Subtract that, and that's 5. Then we have a base 2. Do you have a base 2 on top? No. Okay. Now you start simplifying. 6 to the 4th. That is 1,296. Okay. Then I put the variables, x to the 4th, y to the 5th. Now we go to the bottom, because there's stuff on bottom I wasn't able to cross out. 7 to the 4th can get simplified, so can 2 to the 3rd. So 7 to the 4th would be 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. That's 2,401. So write that product down. Then 2 to the 3rd can be simplified. 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8. Write that product down. Now you can multiply these. Okay, you can't multiply on top, but you can multiply on bottom. 19,208. Now try to divide them, but if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Doesn't work out. Okay, so that's the end. Okay, next one. 6 to the 3rd times 6 to the 2nd divided by 6 to the 3rd. Okay, division line goes through the whole problem, so we're good. Okay, so we got 6 to the 3rd times 6 to the 2nd. So my base is I have a 6 and I have another 6. Don't repeat yourself. Okay, if you run across the base again, you put a plus sign, and there's 2 things we have to add. So let's go to the first 6. It's to the 3rd. Doesn't look like it's in parentheses to me, so it's just a 3. Now I go find the other 6. It's to the 2. Not in a parentheses, so it's just 2. 6 plus 2 is 5. So for now we got 6 to the 5th. Now go to the bottom. 6 to the 3rd. Okay, so the only base is a 6. Not in parentheses, so I put a 3. Now you gotta cancel. You have a 6 on bottom and on top. So you get rid of the 6 with the smaller power. And subtract from that 5 up there. 5 minus 3 is 2. So we have 6 to the 2nd. That's all we have, and that can be simplified. It's 36. Okay. Don't have anything on bottom, so it's just 36. Okay, next problem. Remember, don't get freaked out. You just extend that division line and follow the game plan, okay? So times, that's a 3rd power, times 4, times 3rd power, times 2nd power. So if I ignore the powers, I got a 7 times an x times a 4. I think I've already got x, so I just go to the first x and put a plus sign. Otherwise, you're going to have x's floating around all over the place, and you're going to get really confused, okay? Then after the x, we have a y, okay? So 7 times x times 4, another x means I add times y, okay? Now let's figure out what powers these are. So 7, well, it's to the 1st. Is it in parentheses? It is, so 1 times 3 is 3. Now x, we know there's 2 because there's a plus sign. You got to find the 2 exponents. So x to the 1, but that's in parentheses, so don't write a 1 down. You need to take 1 times 3. That's 3. Now go find your other x. We know there's another one because I wrote the plus sign. Here it is on top. 3. 3 times 2, because it's in parentheses, got to be multiplied out, is 6. Whenever I draw that loop, I'm multiplying. 3 plus 6 is 9. Okay, then 4. Here's 4, it's to the 1. Okay. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay. Now I move to y. 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay. Now you got stuff on bottom. So you have a y, it'd be a times, y times x. Okay. So y to the 1, that still looks like we're in the parentheses, so I need to take 1 times 3. That's 3. Now I go to the x, it's to the 1, that looks like we're in parentheses. 1 times 2 is 2. Now can you cancel? Well, you have a y on here and a y here. This time the smaller power is on top. So I cancel that on top, minus it from the other side. 3 minus 2 is 1. So it's now y to the power of 1. Okay, just put it above. X on bottom, x on top, smaller ones on bottom the way we're used to. So 9 minus 2 is 7. Now go through this. 7 to the third. Well, I can simplify. X to the 7th I cannot. 4 to the 2nd I can. So I simplify these two together. 7 times 7 times 7. And then 4 to the 2nd is 4 times 4. So that's 343, and that's 16. So put those down here. And then your variable factor is x to the 7th. Now, you need to times those, okay? Times till you run into the variable. Okay? 5,488. Now on bottom we have a y to the first. Can't simplify it, so it just goes there, okay? And you can't really divide anything because there's not another number there. Okay, 2 more. You can see the problem. The line goes through the whole thing, okay? Put in your operators on top first. We'll worry about the top, then we'll worry about the bottom, then we'll cancel over here. Circle those powers, okay? Those are powers. If you don't know if something's a power, you'd let me know, okay? Powers are the little numbers to the right, okay? So we have 6 times A times B. That's it, okay? No repeats. 6 to the 1, okay? That's inside of the parentheses, so 1 times 4, that's 4. A is in the parentheses, so 3 times 4 is 12. B would get a power of 1. 1 times 4 is 4. Now, do the bottom half. You have a to the 5th power, so the only base you got's an a, okay? Now, the question is, a lot of people are going to say 5 times 4. I don't think so, because if you look at the parentheses carefully, it's not around the a on bottom. It's only around the top, okay? So we just put the 5 down. Now, can you cancel? Well, yeah, you got a to a. Cancel the 1 to the smaller power. Don't forget to do that, or it won't be simplified. 12 minus 5 is 7, okay? Now, top. Can simplify that, not that, not that. So 6 to 4, 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. That is 1,296. Variable A stays put, and the variable B stays put. Okay. There's nothing on bottom, so I don't put anything. Okay, last one. Extend that line so it goes through the whole thing. You want a top and a bottom half. Put in your operators. Times, that's an exponent, that's an exponent. Times, if you want to put that there. If you know it's times, you don't have to. A, exponent, exponent. So if I ignore the circled numbers as my exponents, we got 8 times A. Times A, we already have A, so we add to the A that's already there. Okay? So 8, we know there's only 1 8. It's to the 1 power. 1 times 2 is 2. Now we know there's 2 A's. We got to figure out the 2 exponents on A to add together. So the A on the left, start on the left. So the 4th, it's in parentheses. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay? Then the other a, it's to the second, but that's in parentheses, so 2 times 2 is 4. 8 plus 4 is 12. Okay. Okay, now the bottom. Well, you got a b times b to the second. Okay. So we got a b, base b. And then another base b. Well, that's a repeat, so I just put a plus right there. So I know there's two b's we have to figure out. So I put a 1. Okay. Is that in a parentheses? Yeah, the parentheses goes to the bottom, so you need to take the 1 times the 2. That's out there. 1 times 2 is 2. Now let's go find our b, other b. It's to the 2. Is that in parentheses? Yeah. 2 times 2 is 4. Then 2 plus 4 is 6. Now, top. You can simplify that, not that. 8 times 8 is 64. And by the way, notice how I'm not canceling because I have a b on bottom but no b on top. Okay? No b on bottom, no b on top. Okay? So I was not able to cross anything out. I have a b on bottom, but I don't have one on top. 64 times 8 to the 12th, and the bottom, b to the 6. You can't multiply anything on top, b to the 6, because you get right to your variable.